Okay, it's that time again. It says it's time for me to go live. I hit the button. It says I'm live. So we will give it a few seconds to see if that works. Um, but I didn't know if I was going to make it or not. I've been out all day. The kids had softball. We've been out at the fields and had enough time to just barely drive back here, run in here, and throw the cameras up to hit the play button. And I titled it, kind of the idea of what I thought we would talk about was the biggest mistakes we've made in the hobby. And when I walked in, this tank up here, I know you can't see, but the bottom of it, it looked like soup. I mean, it was just murky. All the fish were at the top, gasping for air. And I'm like, well, there's a big mistake. What's going on there? And I guess I overlooked the plecos being on eggs, and they decided to just tear stuff up. There's little pleco fry all over the tank now, and it was just all clouded up. So I did a real quick water change before I was able to hit the go button, and I'll probably do another water change after I get off the stream before I jump into everything else that I got to do. All right, looking at chat of who all's here. Sharkfin Adventures was here early. Welcome in. Uncle Smiley Aquariums is here. Skull Aquatics is here. Flatbed Aquatics and CR Fish. Welcome in, folks. Progenal Aquarist. Welcome in. I think that's everybody so far. But yeah, it's been a busy weekend, and I don't know where time has went. But yeah, I guess before I get to dive into the stuff that I have to do at 7 o'clock, I'll have to, or that I'm supposed to be doing at 7 o'clock, I need to dive into the tanks and at least top off water because some of them have evaporated out and look a little dingy, and I can focus on them more tomorrow, but got to do a little bit of, we'll say, emergency maintenance tonight. Make sure that the fry do okay. Looks like Sanders Aquatics has come in. Welcome. But what got me thinking about the biggest mistakes that we've all made in the hobby? I heard somebody say the other day, well, I haven't really made any mistakes in the hobby. And that made me think, well, you just haven't done it long enough. Because if you do it long enough, you make mistakes. We all make mistakes, and even the most experienced fish keepers make mistakes. And I was on a stream for the Aquafinder channel earlier this week, and he asked me about mistakes that I've made and stuff. I'm like, oh, that could be its own, 2, 3, 4 hour stream talking about mistakes that I've made. Because I mean, I've been in the hobby. I mean, as long as I can remember, I've had a fish tank of some level. Up until about high school, I wasn't like maintaining it myself. But from high school on, there was a few years that I took a year or two off. But even through college, I had a tank. It wasn't in my dorm; it was at my house, and somehow the fish managed to survive. Me just going home usually every weekend, but not always every weekend, and feeding it once a week. I don't know how it made it, and with the way that I was feeding it. But for however long that's been, I've had a fish tank at minimum that I was caring for, and I've made so many mistakes. I was trying to think of, I think I can reach it. One of the products that led me to make a mistake, well, it isn't the product's fault, but it kind of is. So when somebody asks me about mistakes that I've made in the hobby, something that always comes to mind is Let me make sure I don't mess it up here in my story. So a few years back, and I say a few years, it was probably like 10 or 15 years. But I was doing a water change on, it's either 55 or 75, I don't remember which one. And I had, this water conditioner here. And, not normally what I use, but that's what I had on hand because that's what the closest store to me sold, and that was the only water conditioner that they sold. So I was doing my water change, siphon the water out, put water back in, treated with the water conditioner, or I grabbed the yellow bottle and poured the cap in like it says, and was filling the tank up, and then noticed the fish are acting all funny. They were acting like they were having like a burning sensation. And I recognized that because I've kept fish for, at that point, decades. And it was like they were had a toxicity in the water, like a chlorine poisoning. And I'm like, how do they have chlorine poisoning? I added the dechlorinator. And I went and got the bottle and looked at it and, wait a minute, this isn't dechlorinator. This is a water balancer. So the issue is, this is the water dechlorinator. This is what I put in. And not being used to using this product, I grabbed the yellow bottle and dosed. But instead of this bottle of dechlorinator, I used this bottle of balance stuff. And my fish were suffering chlorine poisoning from it. And I quickly figured it out and got a dechlorinator in there. But that always brings to my mind when somebody mentions mistakes in the hobby that you make. And I'm like, these two products, big square yellow bottle with blue labels on both of them, it's, in my opinion, really easy to mix them up. I would prefer if it had been something like, like how Seachem has, they're white bottles, but one of them has a red label and one of them has like a blue label and another one has a green label so that you can identify which is which easier. Looks like Fish Fam Link came in, Bruiser CB came in. Welcome in, folks. But yeah, when I heard the person mention that they hadn't had any mistakes, hadn't made any mistakes, I'm like, give it time. We all make mistakes. We all do something that we knew better, or something that was dumb, and we do it, and we're like, oh, why did I do that? I'm sure you all have heard the story because I've told it probably a million times now about this bottom tank when I overflowed it for 24 hours and there were fish swimming in the floor. That was a mistake to remember and try to learn from. I'm really aware now of turning my water off. But I've overflowed tanks 100 times even before that case. There's Nancy B coming in, and she says she's driving home. Drive safe. If travel and traffic and all that or anything there like they are here, people don't know how to drive even when it's sunny out, and they just wreck for no reason. Flatbed Aquatic says, water, you mean from the toilet? Okay, that leads into another story. In my last fish room before this one, it was in the basement. And I noticed that one of the tanks wasn't looking well, that the fish were showing distress and all that. And I just sat and watched the tank to figure out why are they being distressed, and I noticed a drip hit the tank. There was a drain line from the bathroom above that runs along. I use my hands outside the screen like y'all can see it. The drain line runs from the bathroom above along the ceiling of the basement or floor of the floor above, and right above the tanks. And in that elbow that curved right above that one tank, ever so often that drain line from the bathroom would drip into the tank. So it was dripping, not necessarily toilet water, but it was dripping drain line water from the bathroom into the fish tank. So I had to get that fixed. Luckily or unfortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, it was from the shower. So it was shower water that was dripping in the tank, which meant that it was, one, chlorinated, two, had shampoos and soaps and stuff in it, but wasn't toilet water. Fishman Jason's here. Welcome in. Nancy says, the whip said the tank isn't full until it overflows. Well, yeah, I guess. And I have thought about if I had, in this fish room, if I had a floor drain, I've been so frustrated at some of this duckweed. You can probably see duckweed over my shoulder here, that if I had a floor drain, I would overflow my tanks on purpose just to get rid of the duckweed. That's a for sure way to get it out of the tank, is the duckweed will float and overflow. And apparently I have those tanks up there too full, or I don't have the lid on them good or something. I'm guessing it was the filter that just squirted me in the top of the head with water. Nancy says she's at a long red light. Well, some of them seem to be longer than others, and the way that you fix that is you have to get out of the car and jump up and down beside the car, and it turns green. Every time you get out of the car to do something, the red light turns green. You need to hop back to the trunk to grab something really quick, and you think you've got a couple minutes. As soon as you get to the trunk, the light turns green. Never fails. Let's see. Jason says, I enjoyed your interview with Greg for the Aquafinder weekly water change. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I've been on streams and podcasts before. That one was a little different. The ones that I've done before, I don't know if they managed the technical side and I just didn't know it. But Greg had his technical abilities all in there, making adjustments to my sound and stuff that I don't know nothing about, but at least he knew what he was doing. And I enjoyed it, getting to talk to him about some of this stuff. And it's always, in my opinion, fun on these things when there are multiple people talking back and forth. And I mean, talking to you in chat is nice, but I'm having to pause to read what you say, and sometimes I get behind and all of that. But yeah, I do enjoy the being on other streams and stuff like that too. But I also have trouble with getting schedules to line up because my schedule apparently is all over the place and not matching up with everybody else's and all that stuff. But I got to share about a couple of things that happened when I had the fish store, about dropping an entire box full of the feeder goldfish, the little comets, spilling them all over the floor of the fish store with a store full of customers just watching, and how I had a shipment of plecos, so they were all going to jump out one night because they weren't used to the shallowness of a 20-gallon long. Let's see, other mistakes that I've made. Well, so not that long ago, I thought, I'm an experienced fish keeper. I know what I'm doing. I know that mistakes can be made and stuff, but I know what I'm doing. I won't make the mistakes because I'm seasoned. And I tried to start a new aquarium and stock it heavy and not have any seeded bacteria or anything to jumpstart the cycle. Well, I got reminded quickly, well, not quickly, a couple weeks in, that even someone that's kept fish for decades has to follow the basic rules and need some biological bacteria, unless you're doing daily water changes, to maintain the healthy fish. That tank ended up getting its typical, like you would expect, ammonia spike and bacteria bloom, and the fish started struggling. And I was like, I knew better. I'm such an idiot. I knew better than to do this, and just thought I was immune to the mistakes, I guess. But I try now to not make the same stupid mistake of just believing that I can get past all the basic stuff because I've kept fish for forever. But I still have things that I end up messing up and having to deal with. Like I hadn't had ick in forever. And then I made a video about ick, and I've had ick twice since then for unknown reasons. One, I believe it's because I did a move with the fish and did a water change with just cold water instead of trying to match the water temperature, and that was something that I knew better than to do. But I can't say that I'll never make another mistake, because I know I will. I'll make a ton of mistakes. I have to keep making content for the Aquafunder channel for the next time he interviews me. No, I'm not doing it on purpose. I just mess stuff up. Scotty's come in and says, sorry I'm late, was bagging fish, catching up from the beginning on double time. Now, I'm starting to believe that Scotty likes watching videos on double time and makes a point to come in late or miss them so that he can watch them on double time. I was watching a video earlier on double time, and some videos I can do that, but it's only if I don't need details from it. The video I was watching earlier, I had it on double time, and I was kind of telling what was going on, but I wasn't getting any of the details. And so I'm going to have to go back and watch it at least at time and a half or regular speed, just to be able to tell the details of what was being said. But if it's just a video for something in the background or a generic type content that isn't, the details aren't the important part, I can usually watch it in double time if it's someone like chit-chatting about stuff. But if it's something about specifics of an event or specifics of a fish or something that I'm wanting to learn about, I need to slow it down a little bit. It's I'm not sure what you're meaning there, flatbed, but I won't tell him, whoever we're talking about. But I wore, see if you see the top of it, Whip's shirt today. And every time I wear this shirt, I get some of the weirdest looks. I get some of the weirdest questions. And I don't know if it's because it says let's get tanked on the back. Half the time people think it's Jesus on the front and don't know what we're, it says Whip's World and don't know what it's referencing. It's from the movie Road Trip. Okay. I'm horrible with movies that I watch them and then I can't remember. I'm not one of these people that know like quotes from movies, because I could probably watch the same movie 4 or 5 times and I could remember the big details of what happened, but the words that were said or the small little details, I don't remember those. It's something screwy up in here, I think. Pebbling Creek Aquatics, welcome in. But yeah, at the ball game, I had Whip's shirt on, and one person's like, "What is your shirt? What is that?" And somebody says, "Well, can't you tell it's Jesus?" Somebody goes, "That's not Jesus." And I just laughed and walked on. It's I find it funny, and if they really want to know and they ask, I'll explain it to them. But it gets people asking and inquiring and gets them talking. So other mistakes, if we want to go into mistakes I've made in the hobby, we'll talk about constructing this building. I put a GFI behind where the refrigerator was going. I've got a small little refrigerator in here. I put a GFI outlet in there. So when it trips, if it ever does, I have to move the fridge out of the way to get to it. And I didn't think about that until, yeah, you guessed it, it tripped the other day. But that's not necessarily like hobby related. That's just me being dumb with where I place my outlets. I've made mistakes moving fish. I had some really nice, what do they call them? Berlin swordtails, the black swordtails. And I was trying to dip them out of this tank and move them to a different tank. And right as I was trying to net them out, my single male that I had decides he was going to jump out of this tank and over into the next tank. And I should know better and I should keep more lids on stuff. But apparently I'm not smart enough, or I'm too lazy to put lids back on stuff. And he jumped into the neighbor's tank. And at the time, the neighbor in the tank next to him was an Oscar that had been watching those swordtails for a very long time and basically saying, one of these days I'm going to get to you. And that male swordtail didn't much more than hit the water before he disappeared. And so then I was stuck with females with no male. And that was a mistake that was all on my part, that I should have known better. And I didn't learn from it. Because I made a similar mistake with some betas once, that a different tank, it was actually in the 125 that you can see the corner of there, that I was working to get some betas out of a bag and put them in the tanks up above. And I not much more than open the bag up, and something comes flying out of the bag and into that 125, where 2 Oscars were sitting waiting. And I didn't find that beta again. So I try to learn from my mistakes, but sometimes I don't. And I end up making them again. And Sanders Aquatics there says, biggest mistake I made was getting the second tank. MTS is real. But then you got to kind of question, is it a mistake? I don't see MTS as a mistake. Not currently. I had it at one time when it was a mistake to do it the way that I did it, and it caused a lot of financial issues and stuff like that I didn't know when to say no. But that's another topic. The way I look at it now, my MTS is under control, and I enjoy it, and it gives me a pastime to do things, an excuse to talk to you all, and I make a little money off it. I don't make really anything off of it if you break it down and what I spend compared to what I get back, but I tell myself that I make a little money off of it. Foxy's Fishes is here. Welcome in. Flatbed says, Sanders, it's when you get the double-digit number of tanks when MTS might become a problem. I don't know. Double digits is a little more challenging, but I like the challenge. I like that. It, in my mind, having like 40 tanks and very little time to get in here and mess around with them, I'm like, okay. So it's difficult. How do I make it not as difficult? And for the last 5 years, I said, auto water changes. I have to do auto water changes. I have yet to set up my auto water change system, but I'm thinking about it, and I get a step towards it and take 2 steps back and 3 steps forward, and I'll get there one day. And then I tried automatic fish feeders to try to, cover the gaps of when I'm not here. Well, I learned from that not to do the way that I was doing it. It's all about learning from mistakes, and you usually have to make the mistake 4 or 5 times before I learn from it. Flatbed says, if MTS becomes a problem, consult your closest fish keeper. And yeah, it's like I said, there's ways to make it easier, like switching from the hang on the back filters to the sponge filters and running a whole air system to run the whole room. Oh, that made it so much easier. It saved so much money. Having my lights on timers, wonderful. Except for when I decide to bypass the timer and leave them on for 2 days or a week. But other than that, the timers are great. Having right now I've got 2 timers running the whole room. And I could probably get 1 timer to run the whole thing, but it's easier just to do 2 for now. And whenever I get the auto water change set up, it'll make it a whole lot easier. Then I come in and flip a switch because I'm not going to make it full auto. I'm going to make it like semi-auto. Come in, flip a switch, change out my water, and I won't have to worry about overflowing or anything like that. And Sanders is at 86 and still going. Yeah, no reason to stop now. I've got, I think it's your most recent video flagged that I need to watch it soon that it looks appealing. Most of them do, but I haven't seen any the most recent updates. But 86, it just gets more fun. More challenge makes more fun. I can't fit 86 in here, I don't think. But I'll probably end up fitting as many as I can in here. Scotty says he's still behind. He doesn't like catching up on double time because it often causes buffering issues. And he'd like to chat in time. Scotty doesn't know. Don't tell Scotty. It's a movie reference. Oh, I've heard that before. And I've probably heard it in the movie. But my brain doesn't click stuff together. I'm horrible about movies. I'll watch a movie and not even couldn't tell you who was in it or what was said in it or anything. And some of these guys out there, they can quote a whole movie. They can say 2 words and know exactly which movie it came from. And I'm like, I don't know. Don says to Sanders, when BBS, big basement syndrome, meets MTS. At times, I wish my house had a basement that it might would be easier. And then at times, I like having the building here that it's a little easier. Like moving at my last house, moving a 55-gallon, or 55 wasn't too bad, moving the 75-gallon tank into the basement. Let's just say that was a little sketchy. That I got it to the level, the floor at the top of the steps, pushed it so the lip was hanging over, and went into the basement, got below the tank, and gave it a little pull, and let it basically free slide down the steps, and was standing at the bottom of the steps, ready to catch the thing. Not very smart, knowing that the 75-gallon tanks weigh a little bit. That I'm putting myself between it and a concrete wall to hopefully stop it before it smashes me, breaks, and sends glass through me. But I got it down there. And then once I got it down there, I couldn't figure out how to get it on the stand. And had to call in another set of hands to help lift it onto the stand. Heflin Creek Aquatics says Austin Powers. Was that Scotty doesn't know? Don't tell Scotty in Austin Powers also? There was a character in that movie named Scotty, wasn't there? It's been forever since I've seen Austin Powers. I'm going to make a list of movies to go back and rewatch again. Because I'll forget the movies I want to rewatch before I rewatch them, I'm sure. Okay, so Flatbed says it's a different reference. So potentially it's in that movie too, but not what they were referring to. So it's a song too. See, I'm horrible with songs. I'm horrible with movies, and I'm horrible with people's names. I'm horrible remembering why I went in the kitchen. I'm horrible with memory altogether. I'm good to remember where I'm at and who I am. And Nancy's saying hi to people, and Dawn scolds her and says, "Pay attention to the roads." And Nancy replies that she is home now. So I'm glad you made it home safely. I try not to be anymore. I'm going to say that I've learned from my mistakes on this. But when I was younger, let's say that because anytime before today, I was younger than today. When I was younger, I had a bad habit of watching streams and trying to chat in chats as I was driving. Even having mobile games going while I was driving. And you should never do that. That's horrible. And I've totaled a number of cars, not because of any of that, just because I drive so much. And it's just the odds, I guess. The more you're in the car, the more times you're put in the probability of having an accident. But you can definitely get in an accident chatting as you're driving. And let's see. Looks like Nancy gave the Peplins a purple lily, and they enjoy it. And Nancy says she saw the picture that Foxy posted. And doesn't know how it looks so purple. I'm trying to think. I put lilies in my pond this year, but I don't think that they did anything. I haven't really spent much time out there at the pond. I got frustrated when my tubs became the target of the raccoon. And I've really been looking at those motion sensing sprinklers. And then a guy at work told me there's motion sensing or motion activated or whatever lasers that shoot bugs, and started talking about that they could be modified to target raccoons, which then I saw that going down a whole rabbit hole that I probably didn't want to go down of me walking out there and getting zapped by a laser. And Nancy says it's a purple bloom on a water lily, but when I take pictures of it, the phone overcorrects the color and makes it look pink. It's really pretty in person. And yeah, I've been thinking about that also recently. Is the way that the pictures are when we take pictures of stuff, they don't show the true colors and stuff. That stuff will look better in our eyes than what the camera shows it. And it's probably for the correcting for color and stuff that automatically happens with the phones and the cameras and stuff now. And I've always thought, you take the picture, if you go in and you edit the colors and stuff like that, you're making a false image of it. But the more I'm thinking about it now, of the camera is already editing the color and changing it from what it really looks like. That going in and editing the colors back or more towards what it should look like in reality. But that is probably what we ought to be doing on our pictures. But I'm a horrible photographer anyways. I try to take a picture of a fish and I just get a blur. And I'm like, I guess I took a picture of the flash using the Speed Force or whatever it is. Scotty's caught up. Good. Peplin says, set focus, then darken it a little before you take the photo. Too bright eats the color. Okay. I don't know enough about it. That I've heard people say people put too much light on their stuff that they're taking pictures of, and I've heard other people say that you want more light than what you think. I know that I can't get my fish to set still. Foxy says we can adjust the photo settings before taking the picture. It doesn't always work, but it helps give the muddy lighting and truer colors. Moody, muddy, moody. One of those words. Another near mistake that I had earlier this week was I had a thing of fish food. Not necessarily this thing, but let's use this one as an example. I had a thing of fish food sitting on top of a tank with the lid off of it. Again, I'm horrible about putting lids back on stuff, but I had the lid off of it sitting on the tank, and I was going around feeding fish. And I bumped the lid because it was sitting on the lid of the tank, bumped the lid. The lid falls into the tank. The container of fish food falls in the tank, but I do catch it before it goes underwater. So I saved all of that and set this one back on a fish tank lid. So maybe I didn't learn from that, but at least I've got the lid on it this time. And Nancy says, outside it's hard to turn down the sun. I agree. And sitting beside the ball field all day today, I get it. There was moments I wish I could have turned down the sun. That's when you appreciate clouds. And Foxy said you have to turn down the sun on your phone. Nancy says she's darkened the photo and it looks better, but still not the true color. And it may be like I was mentioning earlier, where the person I was talking to was talking about going in and adjusting the color after the photo is taken to bring it back closer to what it really looks like by our human eye. It would be neat though if we could capture exactly what we see, the way that we see it, and preserve it, and just have it auto running, and you just can select out which images and stuff like that. I think there was a movie like that it recorded all of your experiences that you see. Foxy suggests a shade cloth. And I'm not going to read Scotty's comment. It sounds like it's a little personal between him and Peplin. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that read it that way. And there's Sutton Road Aquatics coming in. Welcome. Hoping everyone is well. I hope so also. It's always enjoyable to get into these streams and chat and stuff that hang out with all of you all. I'm trying to figure out how to make it more enjoyable. And one thing on my list is, well, it's not charging now. Huh. I don't have that much longer to go. I will say to not run my phone dead before the stream like I normally do. And I plugged the charger in because it's really low. And apparently I didn't plug the other end into the wall correctly or something, but it should be fine. But if I didn't run the phone so low and dead and stuff, I might would be able to walk around in here and show you tanks. But maybe one day. And get my act together. Maybe start streaming from my laptop too and have the phone as a separate camera on a tank or something. I don't know. I have to get ideas from some of your all streams. But yeah, see, the wrong side. For these things here, I want to take pictures of my fish and put them on here and put information about them with the idea that if I ever forget what they are, I'll have a reference. Or if anyone else ever needs to come in here for whatever reason and deal with my tanks when I'm not here, that they can say, oh, this is this fish, but I'm horrible about taking photos and all of that. A lot of times I'll do a video of it and then screenshot the best image that I can get of the video. But another thing on my list for in here is organization of, like, as you saw, I've got this can of fish food up here. I've got a can of fish food back here. I've got some over there on that shelf. I've got some behind the camera back there. It's just all over. I've got some in the stand for this tank that's sitting over here out of screen over here. And I need a shelf that I just put all my fish food on, keep it nice and organized, and that way I can find the stuff and know that it's on that shelf and not under this one or back over there or on the back row back there somewhere. And that'll make it easier on me. I got a little cart that I was using to bag fish. That's what I'm talking about, fish. That I was using to bag fish, and it works great for that. And I'm thinking about getting another one of those to use for food. It's on wheels that I could put it beside a stand and push in and pull out the cart. And I got to learn not to get distracted by messages that pop up on my phone. Someone's messaging me right now and getting me distracted. And apparently somebody's outside doing something. Okay. What? I'm live. Bye. I was correct. There was someone outside doing something. my daughter was leaving. Completely forgot what I was talking about and all that. But anyways, Gills Gardens came in. Welcome. Going to lurk and watch on the TV so I can do some maintenance water changes. That's something else that I want to do in here is I want to get a 20 something inch or 30 something inch TV and mount up here so that I can get live streams playing and stuff like that. I've got it rigged up where I can put the phone into a speaker system and play the live stream and not really see it. And sometimes I can't really hear it that well because of the way the sound system is. But I think it'd be better on a TV. It'd be more enjoyable. That I could just come out here and sit and relax and get away from everything, be around my fish, and have the TV going. And if I wanted to just sit and watch the TV, or if I wanted to work on the tanks, and that's something like, it's weird that I just enjoy working on the tanks, rescaping them, of moving the fish around, of cleaning algae, of, I mean, you can't tell it looking at some of the tanks that I enjoy cleaning algae, but when I get time, I enjoy coming out here and dipping duckweed out and trying to fix that problem. MC Aquatics, welcome in, but he's going to lurk. Flatbed, I wasn't going to tell who it was that was messaging me, but tell it on yourself. Scotty says he found a property in eastern Tennessee that has a former repair shop, 2 garages, and a mini store, and 2 double wides on 2.5 acres. The mini store could be a fish room, and second trailer could be an Airbnb. Really good idea. If it was me and I had that, I'd make the store the fish room and actually put like a fish store in it and have it run, even open just a few hours, like maybe it's just open on Saturdays and Sundays. And it runs just a, it's mainly your stuff, and you can have your fish room with a few tanks up front for selling and stuff like that, and not really do it as a for-profit type store. But if you're going to have the storefront there and you're going to have your fish in it, you're going to be in it from time to time anyways, set it up as a storefront. And at least the way that I look at it. And that way, if I was doing it, I could offer stuff to people in the local community that, I'm going to have ick medicine anyway. So when I buy ick medicine, buy 6 of them. I use 1 and put 5 on the shelf, and so on. So if somebody down the street needs ick medicine, they come and get it. Fish stores and places to get things are really hard to find in this rural area, and some people have to drive a couple hours just to get to one. And another benefit, if you have a storefront and you're open to the public selling stuff, is wholesale pricing on stuff. MC says the hospital won't let me stream from here. Well, I guess I could understand that a little bit. Gills to Garden, I just have a little 24-inch TV mounted above the door. It's also kind of lucky my fish room is in my bedroom. I have 23 tanks, and when it's done, I'll have 33, give or take. Oh, that's nice. I tried having tanks in my bedroom, and when it got when I was questioning, do I need a bed? I said, okay, I went too far. Time to move all the fish tanks out of the house and not put any fish back in the house. And that lasted for a few months. So MC says they threatened to take my phone if I did. So he's got a alert. Understandable. Scotty says he was thinking of that. You grow it over time, but the first year would be a fish room. Yeah, and with the way things are now with social media and stuff, you put on Facebook that you've got a store and you're going to build it slowly and all that. And I've seen places that they build a customer base based on basics like the ick medicine, the simple food, dechlorinator, and then they order in. Customers say, "Hey, can you get me 10 cherry barbs and 2 bristlenose plecos?" And they order it in for them. So that's one way to start it off with. Scotty said, "Just got to find a job." There's options for that. I'm sure there's jobs around, and it's just how broad you want to make your spectrum of what you're looking for. If you're wanting a job with the exact company you're working with, the places of employment will go down quite a bit. If you're wanting the field, it goes up a little bit more. If you're open to even more things, it goes up a little bit more. And you never know. I've seen people open stores as a part-time thing. Like, I'm making 10 times on this little side gig than I am from my 9 to 5. So you never know. Don says, yeah, if you've got a shop front, you can be an aquarium co-op retailer. Big discounts on their stuff. Somewhat. If you meet all the conditions of what's required to be the retailer, and if you're wanting to go that route, and like MC Clark says, if you like their stuff, a lot of things. I see a lot of places getting it and doing well with it. And I've got aquarium co-op stuff all over the place, not as any type of partner or advertising or whatever, but try it out and use it. Oh, so Dawn can't get aquarium co-op stuff. I bet they can't even ship across to overseas. I'll say just order a huge shipment of it and set up your store over there and be the only retailer in the UK. And Aquafunk's here. That must mean it's about time to wrap it up. It says, am I coming in at the end again? Yeah, unfortunately. Scotty says he needs to be able to pay the mortgage and have benefits. My own store won't do that initially. Probably not. There's Moneyless Maven saying she's been lurking. Well, thanks for dropping in and saying that you've been lurking, and thanks for watching, even if you are lurking. But as I mentioned when I started, apparently I've got more work to do when I end this than I realized, and it says it's that time. So I guess I need to get off here and move towards doing the what I have to do on these tanks before I can jump over to what I'm supposed to be doing at this time. But I want to thank you all again for stopping by and saying hi and hanging out with me for an hour. It's always great to get to hang out with you all, whether in person or on the stream. And I'm pretty sure next week I'll be able to do it again. So again, thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next week.